You see, we are all connected through the holy body.
Hey gamers, welcome to another episode of RPGaymer Presents Hype or Ripe, the show where we talk about things that are coming up in our very near or potentially very distant future. It depends. Today, we're going to talk about the Resident Evil 4 remake. And Casey, I want to know,
Yes.
do you like Resident Evil?
It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's mid. It's
No,
mid.
It's one of my
Mid-tier.
favorites. I mean, we've talked about it on how many different episodes we've streamed. What, all of them, 1 through 6? Well, I guess we didn't actually stream 4, which I think is funny, but
Or 1. We didn't stream 1
or
together.
well, yeah, we didn't stream 1.
I did that with Scott, but yeah,
but so
we didn't.
you did stream, or did you stream 1, or did you just play it with?
Yeah, we streamed
Scott?
it.
Okay,
That was actually one of the
Right.
ones where he was sitting on with me, and we were recording his audio as well.
Sure. Yeah, but when did you first play 4? I assume you played 4 when it came out?
Yes,
Back
I
in the
did.
2004?
Actually, I remembered when it was actually 2005.
2005.
Yeah, because it was my freshman year of college, and
man.
I was
I was
playing it in my dorm room, and everyone was calling me Leon Kennedy at school because I literally had his coat.
Oh.
Like that
Oh,
was the
did
coat
you
I
have
wore
his
around.
hair? I was trying to picture you with long hair.
I mean, yeah, I had Leon-ish hair. I mean, like, it was just kind of the thing. Everyone was super into the game when it came out, and I think it is one of those games where the hype lives up. I think it was very genre-breaking, and
100%.
for a lot of us Resident Evil fogies who, were very purists about how Resident Evil was when it was the raccoon era and more survival horror-y, a little less on the action side. Still wouldn't deny that this was a good game. And I think there's a lot riding on this remake too, because you don't want to let a good game down. Like, I don't think Final Fantasy VII Remake let Final Fantasy VII down at all.
Agreed.
I think it really did a good job of modernizing it. And that's kind of what we're here to talk about, because we don't have the game. We can't play the game because it comes out in a month.
But
like-
we can play soon because there
But
will
we
be a
can play
special
soon.
demo, and then it
Yes.
will come out.
Let's talk about some of these things that are popping up in this trailer. I think it was about 2 minutes long that we saw
Yep.
at the PlayStation
State of
of Play. Yeah. So for you, what was one of the big standouts? What was one of the things that you were like, I'm happy they nailed this, or I'm happy to see that they added this?
I'm excited to see. It seems like probably some sort of an expansion with Luis. I think there's gonna. It seems like there's gonna be a good bit more with him, and I like. He has. I think he was already very funny and sort of the comic relief in the original, but I think they're kind of really pushing on that some more, and it looks like he's getting a little bit more personality. And I'm assuming they've probably taken out his whole. His sort of kind of creepiness towards Ashley, although I think that was really just that
we don't
one,
really,
one moment.
we don't really know.
But I'm hoping they at least took out the ballistics comment. But I'm excited to see what they do with him. I'm excited to see him and Leon team up some more. And I think he's kind of sexy, so that's a plus.
I'm excited for him too. I think them being Capcom is starting to realize that we like when characters get more development, and I think Luis is that character where we can see that a little bit more, especially when no characters get any development really in the original. Like Leon, Ashley, everyone, they're just very flat.
Yes.
So I think this will, like, Ashley already looks really different, which I think is really great.
Yeah.
And I mean, her being afraid of what's going on is totally fine. I think it just depends on how it's handled and how over the top it is. I think Capcom has finally stepped away from a lot of the campier stuff and gone with more of the serious. So it's cool to see this. And I think Luis is going to play into that quite a bit.
Yeah. I do still think there is a level of campiness specifically, and I don't remember his name, the little man with the old looking little guy.
Oh, Salazar? Is that his name?
Maybe yes, yeah, I think so. But it's just like there's just some dialogue with him in it, and it's just like it's so goofy and.
But I don't think it'll be as over the top as it was in the original. You know?
Yeah,
I think
I agree.
like it was just, this is an action game, and we're having this really cheap God of War or Devil May Cry-esque silly campiness that's just not necessary. So I think it'll fit better in this
Yeah.
one. And I think having him around is a little bit of a security blanket too, because one of the epic scenes from the first game is when you're defending the house and he's
Right.
there, and after that he just pops in and out for no reason. And we talk about that in some of our survival horror discussions, where it's like, why would these characters continuously choose to separate? Like, it makes no sense. There's no logical reason for it. It's just kind of like, hey, see you later.
Right.
There's literally a full village of people trying to kill us, but bye. And here it seems like there's going to be more time for these characters to be together and really lay into that action heavy phase.
Speaking of action, how are you feeling? How did you feel about the Krauser reveal? I mean, not that it seems all that different, but what were your thoughts on him in the original, and what are you looking or not looking forward to with him being in this one?
So I think one thing I do want to touch on, and it was a concern of mine, and I just want to emphasize like how awesome it is that they're doing the full game, and that relates to Krauser as well, where Resident Evil 3 Remake, we've gone over this a ton of times, like we beat it dead or undead, if you will, to the point where like, yeah, that game we weren't jiving with because of the changes. They didn't keep it authentic in terms of just what we all loved about Resident Evil 3. But this game, because it's so huge, because it is a much longer game than the rest of the titles, like it's not something that you can just very quickly plow through. Makes you kind of wonder, what content are they going to cut? And maybe they are cutting content, but it seemed like from everything that we saw the island, we saw where the game gets a lot more gun heavy, we saw scenes with Krauser, we saw the scene with the two El Gigantes,
yes,
which I think is super cool. And we saw Luis in there too, which is how we know that they're really pushing him being in there more. I think it's great as long as they're going to cut out the QTEs. And I think
right. They already confirmed that they are.
They did. And I know they
Yes.
talked about that, and I think they said like there might be a couple here or there, but you do get a very brief snippet of his battle, Leon's battle with, and it seems like it's this whole parrying mechanic that they're adding, and
it looks
seeing
like you're
that
moving Leon yourself, which is nice.
I don't know. You might be,
think?
because I saw that same parrying mechanic at a different point in the trailer.
Sure. Well, I mean, like, it looks like you're controlling, like you're moving him, if that makes sense. Like you're not the game isn't moving him, like you're physically moving Leon, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think it's like on a rail or a
Right.
cutscene or something like that.
Which
I
I'm
really think it
excited
is just
for.
like in time with the game, which I think is really cool. And I think adding these extra quality of life things that we're noticing that appeared in some of the other Resident Evil entries are what really helped that as well. So like, we had the reaction commands or reaction weapons that you saw in Resident Evil 1 or in Resident Evil 3 Remake. You had the ability to dodge. We're seeing some of these pop in, and we're just getting very brief snippets of what they are, but it's nice to know that they're there.
As we saw when I was playing the original Resident Evil 3, I'm kind of garbage at the dodging mechanics. And I do.
Well, that is not a good example of the dodging mechanic, but it did start there.
Sure. I mean, but I'm not even good at it like in the remake of Resident Evil 3, to be honest. It was fine. But I'm excited. I mean, did the original Resident Evil 4 implement dodging stuff? I know that there was obviously like reactionary stuff and kicking, but did it have like a dodging mechanic like Resident Evil 3?
No,
OG and
actually,
remake?
it didn't. I think it would just let you, like you said, I think if like those insect things were jumping at you, you could kick if you hit the input command, but you only could do it when it was prompted.
Right.
And I think, or, if one of the bigger creatures was swinging at you, I think the same thing where like if you press the button, you would jump out of the way. But I think it's a little bit different when the game like prompts you at a certain time to do it versus you have to actually like hit a button at any point and time it correctly. Like there's one part that we see where there are two axes being thrown at Leon, and Leon literally just full on ducks down. And you know that like there's nothing popping up on screen saying like hit O and X at the same time to make sure you
Thank
dodge
God.
it's like the character, the person who's controlling did it themselves. And then there's another one where I think it's like Las Plagas has burst out of one of the guy's head and like it's slicing at Leon, and I think like you kind of see him duck. Yeah, well, he ducks to the side of the slash there too. Like, so we're seeing it. It seemed like more natural as opposed to prompted, and I think that really helps also us stay away from just QTE City. Like we don't want any.
With kind of with the very, or not, I don't know if it's at the very beginning, but near the beginning of the trailer, there's a scene where Leon, it's one of the robed or cloaked Las Plagas guys, and he like does this weird creepy scurrying, like I don't know if you remember at all what I'm talking about. But
yeah,
like,
it's very
so
early in the scene.
creepy.
It's like it's the third phase of the Plagas
Yeah.
where it's like the ones that are the more insect like,
right,
and that is definitely, that is new. Like, A, I didn't even recognize where that was in the game.
Right.
But B, like, to think the creature jumps on cultist's back and then it comes after you, like, that was definitely something that we had not seen in the original game. So I think that was pretty exciting as well.
Yeah, I'm excited for just in general, there's definitely like a darker, creepier tone. Like I think there are definitely elements of the original where it's scary, but I mean when you first go to the village, like it's kind of, I feel like it's like daylight or something. It's not super dark, which is fair. I mean it's during the day, but I'm excited for sort of a darker, like these darkish tones that the game is really holding on to, and I'm excited to be scared because I think of Resident Evil 4, the original, it's like it is a scary game, but it doesn't really make me scared. It makes me stressed.
Yeah, it's not tonally scary. It's
right.
It's definitely just like I don't want to get my head chopped off.
Yeah,
scary.
it's like you're scared of like dying, but like I want to be like creeped out. I want to be uncomfortable. So I'm excited for the game to embrace that because I think that's the direction that they're going, and it makes me very, very pleased.
Well, and like you're saying too, that like tonally scary, I was paying attention a lot to the monster details, and I'm not really a big fan of like El Gigante and those guys just because I feel like that really brings it more to an action game. Yeah. But all of the Las Plagas creatures, especially the first phase ones, really give me vibes of The Thing. The movie. Have you've seen that, right?
I actually have not, but I'm kind of familiar.
Casey, I don't even like horror movies. And
I played the game from like what 2002 or something.
I mean, it was an ambitious PS2 game. I don't think it was too bad, but
it was pretty okay.
But yeah, but it gives me, they gave me those vibes. Like there's that one part where one of them is literally like mouth open trying to bite Leon, and I can't tell if Leon is throwing a knife into his mouth or if he's about to get bit. It's really hard to tell without knowing the context of the game. And then you see the other ones, with their blades and whatnot. I think they're adding to that detail, and it seems like the camera is a lot more intimate than it was in the original as well. Like it's a little more over the shoulder, like and a lot closer, and that really makes a difference, you know, because you don't get to really see what's going on behind you. I feel like it's more of a narrower scope too. Like you're not seeing as widely or as broadly, and I'm wondering if that's because a lot of TVs now are more rectangular than they were square back in the day. But that new perspective alone really adds to things being scarier too. Like something could sneak up on you.
I want this game to make me scream. I want to get so scared that I'm not sure I need to take a break. I mean, I definitely will keep playing, but I want to maybe think, do I need to stop for a minute? Like I want to be scared when I go to bed. I want to see something new. Like I want them to just throw something in there that wasn't in the original game. So like those something of us who have plot wise, or just like a new scenario or like something that you wouldn't expect. And we were talking about like how you're with Luis later on in the game. Some of those scenes were really intense because you weren't there or because he wasn't there. Mm-hmm. So having him there might make it a little bit less intense. So I think
that could be okay, but I also want some things that are getting more intense, because here I am as a player who's played it a couple of times, and I feel like I have a pretty good memory of all the things that happen. So what's the new thing that I'm not going to expect?
Sure.
And it could be like one section where what you think is going to happen is very different than what happens, and it's not changing the plot or anything like that. It's just how are they going to do this one twist? Because I wouldn't want the entire game to be different and then it loses identity, but I just want one part where it's like, oh crap, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, I don't really. While I love the remake of Final Fantasy VII a lot, and I'm excited for the direction they're going, I don't think Resident Evil is a series that needs to go in a direction where they change the plot or change the characters or change events in the way that seems to be going. I would definitely like just one or two little twists, kind of like they did in RE2 Remake, where there's just a few things that are slightly different, but the overall story, narrative, plot, characters kind of have the spirit of what we expected.
Yeah, that's a good way of thinking of it. Like, they changed the Ada scenario and the Sherry scenario in RE2 Remake. Both games had those scenarios, like you play as Sherry, you play as Ada for a little bit, but they didn't have it where like this, where like Ada has Mr. X coming after her in a small section of it, or she gets trapped in the giant incinerator, and Sherry has Chief Irons coming after her, and it's a stealthier part of the game. That's that little twist that I just hope that we see in this.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's wrap it up. Overall, would you say that this is a hype, as in like I'm so hyped for it, or is it a ripe? Like, I don't know. And I know this might sound obvious, but like kind of scale it there. Are you like, oh my God, this is exactly what I wanted, hype, hype, hype? Or is it just kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of hyped, but we'll see. Where do you land on this whole range?
I mean, right now I'm like on the my hype level is like tippity top. Like it could maybe get like a titch higher, like the demo that they're coming out with. I feel like that might put me at the level where it's like, Jesus, I need this game right now. But right now it's very like a 90% hype out of 100%.
Yeah, I think they really did it justice, and though RE3 Remake was a little disappointing in terms of authenticity, it still was a really good game, so we at least know that Capcom is on a positive trend with their gaming. I think, like RE7, RE8, 2 Remake, 3 Remake, we're seeing good games being put out. So I don't think we're going to get a bad game. So I'm with you on this like hype train. I don't know if I'm like 100% hype, because you just don't know, because they're not showing everything. That like maybe they did have way too much Luis in this game and it really ruined the experience, or maybe they did cut some bigger segments and we're just not seeing that, so they're showing what they have. Right, we don't know, but I want to be hopeful for this one. I think everybody, they know how big of impression this game has on a lot of people, and how it really sits in like a top 10 list of best games of all time. You really shouldn't ruin that game. That I think it would really cause a big divide for people. So I'm definitely on the hype train for sure.
My last thought is that because RE4, the original, was such a departure and it won so many Game of Year awards, and because it was so different, that's the only thing I'm afraid of for this game, is that it won't be able to live up to that sort of expectation, because it changed the game so much. I don't really know what it can do to change the game again, and I don't know that they're going to try to do that. So I think in terms of that, I'm not sure it will reach that level of the original, but still very, very excited.
Yeah, we'll see. I think you and I have talked about this a little bit before too, in the sense that for movies and TV shows and video games, we get excited for remakes, but they will never ever be as impactful as the original. Because, at the end of the day, if you don't stay true to the source material, we get mad. But if they're too true, then like we know what's happening. So in some way, it can't. There is a win, but it is still kind of like a lose-lose. So we'll see. We'll see. And I definitely agree with you there.
Sorry, bad traffic. One combat shop compliments kidding. Whoa!